I've been seeing a lot of teachers online saying that they have to put on a performance just to keep students' attention. If the lesson isn't flashy, high energy, constant stimulation, students check out. And when we're talking about engagement, most of the time we're talking about things that we can actually see. Eyes facing forward, hands are raised, students are talking. But here's the thing, visual participation is just one piece of engagement. And if we only design with what we can see, we might be missing the deeper learning that actually matters. Miss Brown here. In this video, I want to break down the three core dimensions of student engagement: behavioral, emotional, and cognitive. And I want to talk about what that actually looks like in a real classroom without you having to put on a performance. When we design our lessons with all three dimensions of engagement in mind, we shift our thinking from how can I keep students entertained to how can I design this lesson to really draw them in. So let's start with the one that we're most familiar with, behavioral engagement. Behavioral engagement is what we can observe. So students are following directions, they're participating, they're completing tasks. And to be clear, this matters because a classroom without behavioral engagement is just chaotic. But here's where we get stuck, because compliance is not engagement. Let me give you a quick example. I've been in plenty of classrooms where students are facing forward, they're quiet, they're nodding their head as the teacher is doing the lesson. And then when it's time for them to apply that skill and do some independent work, they have no clue what to do. They don't even know where to begin. And that's not engagement, that's compliance. One way we can move from compliance to behavioral engagement is making sure that we have plenty of opportunities within our lessons for students to have conversations with one another. Think whiteboards, turn and talk, think, pair, share, those types of activities. Behavioral engagement is the entry point. It really sets the stage, but it is not the whole story. When we think about emotional engagement, we want to think about how do students feel about their learning and how do they feel about the classroom environment? Do they feel safe? Do they feel seen? Do they feel a sense of confidence and belonging in the classroom? Do they feel like they can actually do it? And research just shows us that students perform better and learn better when they feel psychologically safe and emotionally connected to the content. Think about the student who rarely participates, not because they don't understand, but because they're afraid that they might get the wrong answer. That's not a behavioral issue. That speaks to the emotional engagement in the classroom. Some things that we can do to create a emotionally engaging classroom environment is to normalize mistakes. We all make them. We can also build in student choice. So instead of saying, here's this activity that you're going to do, maybe they have two options to choose from. Also, making sure that we have culturally relevant examples. And if you're using one of the big name curriculum makers, tailor that lesson. You are going to have to tailor that lesson to the students in your class, because guess what? You're in a different environment than a school district all the way across the country that's using the same exact curriculum. And you are working with different students. You are going to have to adjust that lesson. There's just no way around that. If you made it to this point in the video and so far it's clicking for you, drop a little light bulb emoji in the comments. And the last one, and I think sometimes teachers forget this, is you have to show genuine enthusiasm about the content. If you're like, oh, I don't feel like teaching about ancient Greece, guess what? They don't feel like learning about ancient Greece. When emotional engagement is present, students lean in, not because they're forced to, but because they want to. And last is cognitive engagement. And cognitive engagement is the level of thinking that students are doing. Are they explaining their reasoning? Are they making connections? Are they grappling with a challenge? Are they persisting through confusion? You can have a room full of students who are participating and not actually thinking deeply. And I want to say, fun does not equal cognitive engagement. A flashy game where students are answering questions quickly and they're moving around the room, that might be great, but if they're not explaining why, we might not be building a deep understanding. So, the easiest way for me to incorporate cognitive engagement is to ask why. Why? How do you know? Also, especially for the older kids, like upper elementary, require justification in writing and in discussion. You think this way because what? Tell me about it. Write about it. And then designing tasks and designing lessons that promote productive struggle. Our students are not struggling enough. And when they don't have those opportunities to struggle, they look for answers quicker and quicker and quicker each time because they want to be done. And of course, with that comes gradual release. You're going to model it, you're going to do it together with your class, and then they're going to do it on their own. Cognitive engagement is where the learning really sticks. True engagement happens when all three dimensions overlap. Students are participating, they feel safe and interested, and they're thinking deeply. That's when you don't have to perform as a teacher and the lesson carries itself. Now, I'm not saying this is easy, but with intentional planning, you can do it. So here's my question for you. When you think about classroom engagement currently, which of these dimensions feels the strongest for you? And which one might you need more intentional design? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And if this breakdown was helpful, I can definitely create another video that gives more specific strategies for each dimension. If this video was of any value to you, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and maybe share with a teacher friend.